and welcome to the Canada News with your host Divya Rai. Now let's have a look at the headlines. 5 members of the Muslim family walking in Canada were hit by a vehicle. 4 members of the family died in an incident and 1 is undergoing treatment at a hospital. Leader of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network says the COVID-19 pandemic has led to an increase in racial hatred. Justin Trudeau says the federal government is considering easy conditions for international visitors following the easing of pandemic restrictions. Now news in detail. 5 members of a Muslim family walking in Canada were hit by a vehicle. 4 members of the family died in an incident and 1 is undergoing treatment at a hospital, Canadian police said on Monday. The Prime Minister of Justin Trudeau has condemned the attack. It is alleged that the driver targeted the family because they were Muslims. The incident happened on Sunday evening. Police in Ontario said the victims included a 74-year-old woman, 46-year-old man, 44-year-old woman and 15-year-old girl. A 9-year-old boy has been admitted to hospital in critical condition. The family has requested anonymity. The accused has been arrested and a case of murder of 4 people has been registered against him.
Based on information collected during the course of the investigation, we believe that this was an intentional act and that the victims of this horrific incident were targeted. We believe the victims were targeted because of their Islamic faith.
Let me be clear, this was an act of mass murder perpetrated against Muslims, against Londoners, and rooted in unspeakable hatred. The magnitude of such hatred can make one question who we are as a city and who we are as Londoners.
Obviously, our response is one of shock and horror. This just keeps happening and needs to stop. I don't know what else to say. I know that all of us are at a loss for words right now. This has just gone. It just keeps happening and it keeps getting worse. And pretty simply, if this isn't an act of domestic terror, I don't know what is.
Stamp out Islamophobia and Islamophobic violence. Not tomorrow, today. We will stand strong against hate. We will stand strong against Islamophobia. We will respond to those trying to inflict terror on our community with love.
I don't see why people can't just spread love and have to spread hate, and why people can't just live their lives without having to face this sort of discrimination.
It's the saddest news that I heard this year, and we should work together that way to fight against racism and hate crime.
And we do need our public authorities to tell us and provide us the information because the fear, that vacuum that we all sort of exist in once something like this happens, where we don't know what's going on, is also very dangerous and very frightening.
The tragic accident with a Muslim family in Canada has made everything, and intellectuals are looking at the phenomenon from a different perspective. Leader of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network says the COVID-19 pandemic has led to an increase in racial hatred.
Like everyone who heard this horrific news, it's shock, dismay, sadly, thinking back to what happened on January 29th in Quebec City with the killing of 6 men in a place of worship. Imagining this particular family in London, Ontario, out for a Sunday night stroll, enjoying the evening, and to be targeted in this way, a grandmother, a mother, a father, and a young daughter killed so senselessly, while the young boy said to survive now, having lost his family. My hands have been shaking for most of the day since I've heard this news, and it really just continues to boggle the mind as to how hatred in our society can lead to such utter devastation. Well, the sad reality, Evan, as you're pointing out, is no, it's not an isolated event. What is obviously, causing all of us to take a pause is the fact that 4 people are now dead. But in terms of violence against Canadian Muslims, incidents of vandalism, of harassment, unfortunately, there has been an ongoing, pattern of that type of activity in our country, just as we know that racism and discrimination against other groups as well has been on the rise right now, even in the middle of the pandemic. In fact, when we see the pandemic, it's almost sort of brought together a toxic brew, if you will, of conspiracy theorists who are looking at COVID and doing all of these rallies and trying to create a lot of distrust within populations, and the far right who are also latching on to those movements and, pushing forward narratives of division that target various communities, whether it's Canadian Muslims, Asian Canadians, Jewish Canadians, and other communities, that we are just seeing this type of division manifesting itself online in particular and spilling over in these tragic outcomes in real life. And so, the call has been from regulation on online hate as well.
Justin Trudeau says the federal government is considering easy conditions for international visitors following the easing of pandemic restrictions. All this will be done in phases and decisions will be taken at a global level, keeping in view of the COVID-19 cases. The federal government has banned non-essential travelers from coming to Canada for more than a year. The government has also stopped direct flights from India and the UK due to several variants of the COVID-19. Trudeau said he hoped travelers from many countries would want to visit Canada once sections were eased. This is also because the vacations rate is higher than other countries and the cases of the COVID-19 are lower than the other countries. Anyone coming to Canada will need to be fully vaccinated, Trudeau says. Country cannot afford to risk another COVID-19 wave. He said the fourth wave would be disastrous for businesses as well as the country.
Well, I think, first of all, it's been a really tough year for everyone, Justin, particularly business owners, particularly in areas that are deeply affected by either tourism or the oil and gas industry, which, of course, is very much Newfoundland and Labrador's challenge. But it's also something we're going to see as the economy reopens. First of all, Canadians are going to be really keen on tourism, on getting out there, on leaving their community, their tourists. There's a tremendous opportunity for people who aren't quite yet comfortable traveling around the world. The 2 vaccinations that are going to be necessary are going to be rolling out through the summer. So I can expect, and just from talking to my own circle of friends, a lot of people are looking to head to Newfoundland. But more than that, seeing the push and the excitement and the exuberance about building back better, about thinking about the future, about investing in either digital or the tech hub that you guys are busy investing in, or even looking at how we transform our natural resources industries to be lower carbon, to be more efficient at a time where there are tremendous opportunities. The kinds of resilience that Newfoundlanders have always shown in the face of crises left you all perhaps somewhat better prepared for this pandemic than others were mentally. Your ability to pull together, your ability to pivot, your ability to reach not just out west across Canada, but those ties to the continent across the pond have always left you with plenty of opportunities. And I think that the partnership that we're able to build with the federal government there to support Andrew and his vision for a Newfoundland and Labrador that is cutting edge and forward thinking, but bringing everyone along into that future is something I'm very, very excited about. As we look to a world that has gotten a lot smaller in a whole bunch of different ways, I know that global investors are looking for places with that competitive edge, places with that advantage that are.
Russia has taken a tough decision in response to the illegal sanctions imposed by the Canadian government on March 24, 2021. Russia has decided to ban Canadian citizens from entering the country in response to unlawful sanctions imposed on Russian citizens and Alexei Navalny for allegedly harassing Russian citizens. A statement said the ban was indefinite for the following persons holding Canadian citizenship. The banned citizens include Canada's Minister of Justice and Attorney General David Lametti, Commissioner of the Correctional Services Annie Kelly, Royal Canadian Mounted Police Commissioner Brenda Lucy, and others. This was reported by Reuters. Dr. Yaffe, Associate Medical Officer of Ontario, provides weekly coronavirus updates in the province. He said 2,846 cases were reported during Thursday update. Dr. Yaffe also mentioned that less than 600 reports have been made since September 2020.
So since the last update we provided on Thursday, Ontario has reported an additional 2,846 cases of COVID-19. That was 914 cases on Friday, 744 cases on Saturday, 663 cases on Sunday, and 525 cases today. This is actually the lowest daily case count that we've had since September 27th, 2020. Our 7-day average for daily new cases is 735, and that is significantly down from 1,078 cases just a week ago. Sadly, we are reporting an additional 68 deaths since Thursday's update. This includes 15 COVID-19 related deaths today, bringing the 7-day average to 16, which is slightly less than the 19 last week. We extend our deepest sympathies to the families, friends, and caregivers of those who have passed away from COVID-19, and to everyone mourning the death of a loved one. While the number of hospitalizations and ICU patients does remain high, the numbers are continuing to show steady improvement. Today, there are 547 people in hospital, although this is underreported, as we know not all the hospitals report on the weekend. The number of Ontarians that are in ICU, reported by the ministry today, is 466. We also know that we have 31 people from Manitoba in ICU in Ontario, which brings our total to 497.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Williams said the province's coronavirus situation is steadily improving. He said in the meantime, the first and second doses of the COVID-19 are being rolled out. He said the pandemic could not be ignored as per the guidelines of public health.
Thank you, Dr. Yaffe. Overall, the situation in Ontario is steadily improving. And this has been a good direction over the last number of weeks, and we're seeing the fruits of the activity, both of the vaccinations, first dose and now second dose, as well as people continually adhering to public health measures and to be careful and cautious. So thank you for your part in this. And you saw we had a slight bump last week. As I said, we were worried about a couple of things. One is the impact of the Victoria Day weekend, and that seems to have been minimal. As well as we're concerned about the new variant, the Delta, or the so-called Indian variant, the 617.2 in particular. And it seems that our vaccination program has been able to temper both those. That's encouraging. We still want to watch that and monitor that. So the provincial rate has decreased by 34%, down to, and this is late last week, 40.4 cases per 100,000. If you remember the old framework, that's below, just about at the edge of red going into orange. And I'm sure our updates this week already will be below that. The effective reproductive number that we talked about trying to get it, even the modeling, down to below 0.9 is actually at 0.78. This is a terrific gain as the amount of transmission has been reduced dramatically throughout. And we see some of the areas that have been traditionally high getting down below actually 100 cases in a day, such as a recent one from large ones like York Region and Peel as well, with our smaller volumes. So this is a terrific achievement. Our hospitalizations has also continued to decrease, in spite of the fact we've heard concerns that the Delta was very much widespread and prevalent and moving around, especially areas of Peel and through Toronto. As of yet, we have not seen this increase in the hospitalizations.
Toronto Mayor John Tory says taking a step forward for the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. Phase reopening is being initiated, announced by the Premier Ford. This is just the first phase of the reopening. Precautions will continue, adding that he has briefed on the vaccine rollout process in the city.
I met earlier this afternoon with the mayors and chairs from the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. We were unanimous in welcoming both the move to Step 1 of reopening this Friday, announced by Premier Ford and the provincial government, and the improved health and vaccination numbers which gave rise to that decision. Hopefully, the long, hard fight we had to go through to get to Step 1 will remind us that this is only Step 1, and that continued caution, compliance with public health guidelines, and even more vaccinations will keep us moving forward. The mayors and chairs especially welcome the advance notice that has been given to assist businesses and people to get ready for the first stage of reopening. Here in Toronto, more than 2.3 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have now been administered by Team Toronto. We're working to make sure everyone has access to a first dose and gets that dose as soon as possible, and to make sure that everyone gets their second dose as soon as possible. I'm so proud to see the strong uptake we are seeing when it comes to different age groups, vaccinations in fact in all age groups. Getting vaccinated will help to bring this pandemic to an end and ensure that we can get back to all the things we treasure in our lives. So please get vaccinated. Get your first dose and get your second dose, and make sure your family and your friends do it too. If you need more information, you can use our VaxTO COVID-19 text line by texting the word vaccine to 1-833-750-0888. On the weekend, I heard from many people about second doses and their need for more information. We know from Dr. Davila that 700,000 people in our city alone are now eligible as of 8 o'clock this morning to book their second dose. Anyone 70 and older who had already received their first dose can now book their second dose. Anyone of any age who received their first dose before April 18th can now book.
Toronto Medical Officer Dr. Alan Dibla sheds light on the situation in the COVID city of the Toronto over the last 3 days. He said 394 new cases has been reported in Toronto in the past 3 days. 713 patients are hospitalized. 211 patients have been admitted to the ICU and 15 more have died due to coronary heart diseases.
Today, I'm reporting 3 days of data, so 394 new cases of COVID-19. That's a daily average of 131 new cases. 713 people are in hospital, 211 people are in the ICU. And I'm saddened to report 15 deaths today. June is a week old, and I've reported to you a total of 42 lives lost. While our own prospects are brighter, this is a reminder that COVID-19 is still something to be taken seriously, and how getting vaccinated is our best protection from it. As of this morning, more access than ever is open to people seeking to book their second vaccination. It could not come at a more important time. All indicators have changed significantly since the peak of this wave. It is good news for all of us that access to second dose booking has expanded as of this morning, so that people can complete their vaccinations and be fully protected. As the Chief will tell you in his upcoming remarks, we understand that already we are seeing a brisk response to the increased access in terms of people trying to book. Overall, getting vaccinated has never been more important, and we have more options than we've ever had in this extraordinary vaccination campaign.
Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau virtually attended the St. John Trade Board Conference of 2021. He claimed that Canada's economy was responding. They discussed a number of issues related to Canada's economy. So that's all we have in this bulletin. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updated news.